Our world is filled with natural wonders. As with other naturalists fueled with curiosity, I've endeavored to understand as much as I can about these wonders. A timeless and invaluable tool that most naturalists use is a journal. A journal not only helps the naturalist to reflect upon his observations, but protects the observations from the human memory, which is notorious for distorting and neglecting details. I am passionate about my studies and love to share with anybody willing to engage. This is why I create and share my nature journal. At the end of the week, we had some heavy rains. This spot is usually muddy, but it's not a stream. And this bridge is typically not underwater. We had 6 inches of rain in the span of just a few hours. It looks like many of our trails and roads have been washed out. And oddly, it did not seem to bother the beavers one bit. It rained so hard that one of the dams had blown out and one of the ponds in a series of 6 had completely drained. I'm sure that much of the wildlife around had suffered severe repercussions. There was a chickadee nest located in a snag in the middle of the pond that had just drained, but fortunately, at least these chickadees had fledged and were all able to find safety and were fine later on. Before the big rain, the days leading up to it, I spent much of in the fields. There are still plenty of house wrens there, being noisy as usual. And plenty of field sparrows. However, my main focus was not on the birds. I was focused on insects. And this damselfly, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful of the insects. It's called the ebony jewelwing. The brownish abdomen and the white dots on the wings indicate that this ebony jewelwing is a female. The males lack the white dots, and the abdomen is the same color as the head and thorax, a metallic blue-green. They typically flutter around like butterflies, but I caught this one early in the morning. Closely related to the damselflies are dragonflies. The two can be easily distinguished because dragonflies are much heavier bodied and their wings hold flat rather than fold up. This dragonfly is a female common whitetail. And this one is a juvenile male 12-spotted skimmer. Many dragonfly species are migratorial, and this is one of them. It will migrate along the Atlantic coast. One of the most common and conspicuous moths lately are the Virginia Tenuta moths. Perhaps one of the reasons these moths are so common is because they lay their eggs on grasses, and that's what their larvae feed on. This butterfly is a little wood satire. Like the Virginia Tenuta, the little wood satire is fairly common, probably because it lays its eggs on grass. And here is the American lady. We see American ladies quite frequently here at the sanctuary, but I'm not sure how common they are elsewhere. There are several species of kama butterflies native to our region. They are difficult to distinguish from one another because they are so similar and they are difficult to approach without spooking them away. When kama butterflies fold their wings, there is a silver spot that looks kama-like in which they are named for. Some subtle differences in markings and wing shapes can help identify these. I believe this butterfly to be the eastern kama. A couple of interesting predators were found. This is a praying mantis. It's an Asian species. I found one of these last summers and looked up the Latin name. It didn't have a common name. I don't remember what it was, but I like to call it the dinosaur mantis. And here's a jumping spider. These spiders have very good binocular vision and can see color. They have been studied for their ability to learn new hunting techniques and to complete mazes. And the milkweed flowers are in bloom now. They have a very sweet fragrance, which attracts many insects. Ants particularly seem to enjoy nectaring on their flowers. Honeybees also tend to frequent the flowers. A few of the milkweed plants were loaded with leafhoppers. Most leafhoppers are pretty small, but these were tinier than most. Leafhoppers mostly drink the juices from the stem and the leaves of plants. While I was observing the leafhoppers, I barely even noticed the spider lurking below. As the name suggests, the red milkweed beetle specializes in eating milkweed leaves. I'm not sure what this insect is, maybe a late instar of a shield bug, but below it there's an orb weaver spider.
Are you trying to deroot something? Or?
These long-legged flies seem to be common throughout the sanctuary, not just on milkweed. They are a Condylostylus species, and this family is predatory. Notice the long legs, the black markings on the wings, and the metallic blue-green body of the Condylostylus flies. At one point, I was so busy looking at tiny little insects that I noticed the cress before I noticed the huge caterpillar. This is the caterpillar of a monarch butterfly, and in fact, the main reason I started looking at milkweed in the first place. I was hoping to find more of these, but this is the only one. I was hoping to find more, but it's more than likely that I overlooked at least a few in our 260 acres. monarch populations are very vulnerable and not doing as well as they should be. The good news is, however, is that there are a lot of people and organizations with a vested interest in protecting this insect. To learn more about monarchs and current projects, a good website to check out is monarchwatch.org.
Other side of the state building.
Back in Utica, the 4 Falcon Chicks have fledged and are working on their flying skills. There's quite a bit of sparring going on down here.
Looks like Astrid's wings.
They put on quite a show, often in the evenings and mornings. The one that's obviously bigger is Spirit, the female chick. They are beginning to hover flight a little bit. They are also flapping less, which is good to conserve energy in their flights. They are also venturing out more and exploring more territory on their own. But the 4 chicks seem to be best of friends, rarely venturing far from each other. Watch as all 4 land on this tiny steeple. And here's the 4 of them together on the Hotel Utica. In a very short amount of time, they've come a long way from passing out after 5 minutes of flight. As for the catbirds in the canyon down below, only one of the 2 chicks made it. One, I think, was taken out by a gray squirrel. Unfortunately, in the heat of all the falcon excitement, I forgot to take video of the catbird chicks. Last thing I wanted to briefly mention is about salamanders. The kids were describing salamanders I couldn't place that they caught in the Sequoia Creek behind their grandparents' house last week, and I wanted to see them for myself. And they are interesting. I don't have a positive ID, but I think they're the larvae of dusky salamanders. And there were several dozen congregated into one little section of the creek. Our mission at Spring Farm Cares Nature Sanctuary is to protect wildlife and enhance habitat around central New York. We thank everybody for supporting us, and if anyone has any questions, comments, would like to learn more, or schedule a tour with us, please check out our website or find us on Facebook.